Hi students and family members, it's Mr. Panza. In our most recent math lesson, we were talking about how we can identify missing parts of angles. What I mean by that is if you are given a picture like either one of these two pictures here, you can notice that in the top picture, we are missing what would angle ABD total. And in the bottom picture, we are missing the significantly smaller ABD that way. So in this case, it's a matter of when you have a multiple angled picture like these two here, how can you actually determine one of the missing angles? It really isn't that difficult, but it's very easy to confuse. So here are my processes to make sure that you can follow, to make sure that you can find missing angle pieces. For the first one, you can see there's really only one step. You're going to add. And the reason you know that you're going to add is because this one gives you two parts and you are looking for the whole. In order to do this, you have to make sure you're locating the correct missing angle piece. So you can see I've already labeled these, but I'm going to go over top of them just so you can see it. For example, this original picture did not have any points and none of those points were labeled. My students know that I must place points at all significant spots to represent lines, line segments, rays, as well as angles. Now I've clearly not only represented with points, but I've labeled with letters, so now we're all speaking the same exact language. What I mean by that is all of the students can now tell me what angles are missing specific numbers. In this case, I can see I have angle A, B, C, and that is equal to 36 degrees. I also have angle CBD, and that angle is equal to 125 degrees. So in this case, I'm only focused on my top directions here. In other words, I have two angle lengths, but I'm looking for the whole. Now, the students in third grade were just introduced to what are known as bar models. And lots of times the bar models are taught like this. If you are given a piece of something, for example, let's say that that piece was 36 cookies, and then you were given another piece of something, and it was significantly more, let's say it was 125 cookies. In order to determine the total number of cookies that you were given, you are going to have to total the 36 cookies by adding them to the 125 cookies. And when you do that, you're going to be able to represent it with this large bar right here. So in this case, whenever, like in this example, you are given a part of an angle and then another part of an angle, and you are trying to determine the whole angle, which would be A, B, D, you are dealing with a part, whole example in a bar model, in which case you need to add. The reason you need to add is because that is going to give you the total angle length. So in this example, I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to add the small angle 125 plus the even smaller angle or piece of 36 and get my total, which again, this 161 represents this entire total piece here, which represents this entire large angle here. We took a part, which was this angle here, ABC, and another part, CBD, added them together, 36 plus 125, and that was able to give me the entire angle, which they mark as A up here, which was 161 degrees. Now, we will continue to look at examples like this where you receive a part plus a part to get the whole, but the bottom one is the exact opposite. This time, once again, I'm given a picture without points, so I tell the students, make sure you label those points A, B, C, and this point up here is going to be D, so that way we're all speaking the same language. And I recognize this time I don't have the part. In other words, if I'm drawing a bar model to represent these two angles, the first one doesn't actually have any numerical worth yet. It's just a question mark. But we do know the value of that second one, and just by looking at it, it's a little bit bigger than the first one, and we know that it's 58. Let's go back to my original example of cookies. So I have 58 cookies, but I don't know how many cookies were over here. However, I was told that the total number of cookies was 88 8. My two pieces of information then this time tell me that I'm missing a part. That part is right here. And you can see in the directions that when you are missing one angle, but you have the total, you're going to subtract. In this case, I take 88. And that I do first because it's my larger of the two numbers. And I take away 58. Just to double check, I believe it's 30. And it is 30 degrees. My angle is 30 degrees. Now the students are given some worksheets to practice this, and I'd like to show you a couple more for examples. We are just going to look at number 3 and number 4 today because they represent both sides of trying to figure out missing angle pieces. You can tell that on both of these examples we are missing points. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to add a point here. I'm going to add a point at the vertex where my 3 lines meet. I'll add a point there to make an angle right here, and I'll also add a point here to make my final angle. Then I need to label these angles. I like to use alphabetical A, B, C, and this one is D. That way, now that I'm ready to label these and show you exactly what type of problem I'm dealing with, it's easy to talk to you about it. In other words, I can show you with my red pen that this first angle is A, B, D. And you can see that my angle marker B is right here. And the worth of that angle is 62 degrees. In other words, I can say that angle ABD is equal to 62 degrees. And I'm going to write that down so everybody can see. Then I'm going to switch colors. Let's go to green. You can see I also have angle DBC, which is, again, an angle marker B, and it's equal to 86 degrees. So angle DBC is equal to 86 degrees. Now let's go back to the original directions or steps to see exactly what I'm supposed to do in this case. Can see that I'm supposed to follow step 1. That's because in the example that we were working with, I was given a part, and I'm looking for the whole. And when you have two angle lengths and you're looking for the larger angle length, you need to add. Let's go back to my problem that I'm using as an example now. In a whole problem, I need to add. So in this case, I'm going to take 86 and add 62. I want to allow the students to use calculators so that they minimize mistakes, which shows me that the answer is 148 degrees for number 3. That's because I knew that this part, ABD, was 62. This part, DBC, was 86. And when I added them together, I ended up with the total whole angle of 148. The exact opposite is true in example number 4. Once again, no points. I need to label them so that I'm speaking the same exact language as the students. Here is A. Point A matches point B, which will eventually be my vertex, and point C. Here's point D. You can see in this example, I am actually given the whole or biggest angle. ABC is equal to 98 degrees. They're not hiding that from me, so I'm going to write that down. ABC, which is my large angle, is equal to 98 degrees. And because I have the whole angle, I am going to use step or example number 2. Let's point out the other angle before I go back to those steps. Angle ABD is the other angle. The angle marker is right there. It's equal to 64 degrees. So angle ABD is 64 degrees. Let's jump back to those steps to see which one I follow. In the one we're working on currently, we are given the total large angle, but we are missing one angle. And when you have the total large angle, ABD in this case, we subtract. Let's go back to the example and finish the problem. So in this case, I'm going to take 98 and actually subtract 64. Let's go back to my calculator. 98 minus 64 gives me an angle of 34 degrees. That's my answer to number 4. So you can see that in order to do this, it isn't quite that difficult. You have to either add or subtract, but it certainly can get tricky determining which is which. If you can remember that if and when you are given the total large angle and a piece, you subtract, but when you are given 2 pieces to get the whole, you add, you'll be in good shape answering the question, how do we identify parts of angles? Hope this video helps.